your dad wins something, you know what I mean? It's when your daughter wins something that's cool. All right, guys. Good to see everybody.
So how different will the offense be this year?
Well, I mean, as far as different, we go through the process at the end of each year of examining what we do well, what we need to improve upon, and then really any trends or anything we see that we can add to it. So I think really when you say different, I think it's going to be like, what do our players do best, like it's been? And then from there, we just expand upon it. Hey, we're really good at this. Let's bring this to the table and try this and see where we can take it. And I think really when you look at just our staff as a whole, we've added some new coaches, so they bring some other layers to it too, and then the knowledge of what they have from their background. So I think as we go forward, as we build this thing together as a staff, you'll see some new wrinkles here and there, but more so it's just kind of building on what our players do best.
What were your thoughts on the tush-push surviving another season anyway?
I mean, it's great for us. We get to continue to use it and have our compliments off it and do different things. So it's fun. It's something we're passionate about. We're very detailed about. We put a lot of work in as a staff, and it's exciting to be able to continue to use it.
What are some things you think you can bring to the offense in your current role that you maybe weren't able to last year or the past years in other roles?
I think really it comes down to just my experience. I've been here with Nick since day one, knowing the guys and understanding them, their skill sets, what they can do, and kind of being in a different role to where I saw a big picture at all times. And now I can concentrate on certain things. And I've been in each room, every year kind of with the receivers and the quarterbacks and kind of spread my knowledge around. So now it's just a matter of getting to know the players at a different level, but they still trust me in that capacity, which the background that I kind of had with them.
You mentioned some of the new staff members. What has Leffler brought?
Scott's been great. I mean, he's got a wealth of knowledge, right? He's been a quarterback coach forever, coordinator forever, and a head coach. He ran a diverse system in college, which has been really cool. So when you have a guy in your staff that's got all this wealth of knowledge, it's great to lean on him and just kind of hear what he has to say. And it's good, right? You don't always want the same things from your coaches, just like I am. I want somebody different to bounce ideas off of and give me some kind of new information. He's been really, really good so far. Super detailed guy, very energetic and works hard. And he's passionate about football, so he's been great.
What was the interview process like for you?
I mean, really, when it comes down to the interview, it's you're interviewing every day, right? So for the last 4 years, I'm essentially interviewing with Nick, the staff, the players, and then once we start the interview, it's all about football, how you're going to use personnel, what you're going to do, and how you're going to put the team in the best spot.
Because you've been with Nick obviously so long, you two are kind of linked in many people's eyes. But how do you think you differ from him in terms of philosophy or offensive understanding?
It's interesting. We go back to the Colts when him and I are together. I think there's a lot of fundamental things that we see the same way, but I do think our brains work differently. So it's a good back and forth conversational piece that we have constantly. And there's a lot of things, like I said, that he believes in that I believe in as well. And we're going to do those things. But I do think we challenge each other to grow. And he's awesome about just finding new ideas and testing the waters and saying, what if we did this? What if we tried that? And he challenges you as a coach to really continue to grow your game. So we can be, linked together, but I do think as far as like the testing each other, and he loves to always say, right, we're iron sharpens iron, and all these other things about just when you're working together with people trying to create greatness, right? You can't be great without the greatness of others. He's a big part of that, right? He pushes us as coaches to get better, and that's kind of what's unique about it.
What's your philosophy or approach as a play caller?
My approach, right, is put the players in the best position they can to be successful, and then that's what it comes down to. You want to make sure they're confident in everything that they can do, and you want to be confident as a coach that you put them in that position so that they can go out there and do their best.
You mentioned knowing the guys before. What kind of luxury is it as an OC to come in with 10 of 11 starters and not even the talent, that continuity?
I think it's huge, right? Because everybody knows each other. And, when it comes down to it, when they're out there playing, they're problem solving. Ultimately, you don't always know what you're going to get as an offense. So those guys can walk out there in the field and be confident in what they're supposed to do. But no matter what happens, they feel like they can problem solve and do the best together. And that's really what it comes down to, right? We've had a lot of coaches say the same, and then we've had, a lot of players say the same. That's huge as far as guys knowing what we want to do, when we want to do it. And then if something does pop up, we can all adjust together, which is what we have to do as a staff and players.
Jalen specifically, You obviously have worked with him for a while. Now that the relationship has to change, how do you feel like you guys and that relationship will help you in this current role?
Yeah, I mean, I've been here with him since day one, and it's been great. He works extremely hard. We all know that, and he's super detailed in what he does. And the biggest thing with him is he always wants to get better, and that's what's awesome. And so he's willing to listen to anybody about anything. So if he feels like it's going to get him better, he's willing to take it and try it. And then the best part of it is the dialogue after, right? So we had one practice yesterday. He's willing to try anything, and then we can have dialogue after and kind of go from there. So he's a great player for a reason. His work ethic speaks for itself.
What are your guiding principles as an offensive mind?
As far as
What's your guiding principles as a coach? The things that you prioritize, the things that are important to you that helps set the course for your coaching.
I mean, really, when it comes down to it, kind of said it before, it's put the players in the best position to be successful, and that's what it's going to come down to, right? We're going to be detailed, just like Nick says. We're going to be detailed in our fundamentals and everything we do. We'll be detailed in the scheme, and then put the players in the best position to be successful.
Being around Kellen Moore last year, kind of like broaden your horizons as far as being ready to be an offensive coordinator?
Anytime you can get around somebody that's different, kind of outside your circle or new, right, it can expand your knowledge, right? It just kind of tests you, and it brings something different to the table and a new piece of information that you may not have had. And him and I worked very closely last year together on putting the offense together, and it was fun. I learned a lot from him, and I think the same from back and forth, right? We had a lot of conversations back and forth, what he had done in the past, whether it was Dallas or the Chargers, and what we had done here, and trying to bridge that as a staff was unique. That doesn't happen a ton, and it was really, really successful, obviously, but benefiting from his knowledge and being able to ask questions to him and the back and forth conversations. And during games, it was the same kind of thing, the back and forth. We had a very unique relationship. We didn't know each other prior to, and it went quickly to where we trusted each other, and I could lean on him and he could lean on me. So working with him last year was a huge benefit.
You do have a lot of starters coming back. You did have a lot of success last year. What goes into anticipating the adjustments defenses will make this year?
Yeah, I think just like every year, right? You go in saying, okay, this is the core fundamental, what teams want to do, and then you just have your kind of checklist of things that you got to go down. They could do this, they could do this, they could do that. And then you have to have your core plays that that you trust. Like we talked about, all the 11 guys are back essentially, so they know how to problem solve out on the field. And as coaches, we have to be ready to adjust.
Scheme, who was the greatest influence in your fundamental years of coaching?
Obviously, Nick's been huge on me here currently, but prior to that, my biggest influence was Chan Gailey. I was with Chan, a couple different places. Started in Kansas City when I was with Herm Edwards. I was a young coach then. He had just come from Georgia Tech at that point, and just going through that with him was very unique. In 2008, we lost a couple quarterbacks. We ended up having Tyler Thigpen come in, and I'll never forget, we get into a staff room, and the walls are all white. There's nothing out there. He goes, all right, we got to figure out a new offense for this week. And he was willing to do anything and try anything to be successful. We ended up developing this no-huddle system. We were in the pistol, and in 2008, nobody knew what the pistol was in the NFL. And we were successful for the most part. We didn't win a lot of games, but we moved the ball with a bunch of guys that we didn't know really if we could do that with. And so, him being able to show, look, we do what we have to do to win. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to look a certain way was huge. And then, I went to Buffalo with him, and it looked way different. And we had Ryan Fitzpatrick there, and we were in four wides, throwing all over the place. And I got with him again in New York. And so just being around him, he's probably been my greatest influence on my past. And then obviously Nick currently. But, he just taught me a lot. And the biggest thing was, put your players in position, allow them to be successful, and develop dialogue, communication with them, and things will take off. But no, he's definitely been a big influence on me.
Who were some of the play calls?
Since you've come into this new role?
Really, some of it's still similar, right? The biggest thing, obviously, is I'm the one voice in the offensive room. I still had a big voice prior to, but it's really not a ton different. A lot of the staff is together, and we have a great staff, right? We have the best O-line coach in the NFL. We have the best tight end coach, the best receiver coach, best running back coach, and then we added a couple new coaches. And I worked with Parks Frazier at the Colts, and he's expanded his game. So it's really not that much different, and like I said, those guys are so good at what they do, it's great for me, and as a whole staff, we really, really do well together.
Getting back to the play calling part of it, who are some of the play callers you've been around that maybe shape what we'll see from you as a play caller?
Obviously, Kellen was really good at what he did last year and just developing. And what's interesting is that, he had to kind of adjust on the fly, right, which was really cool to see. Shane had his very unique style, which was interesting too, and how he thought. And then obviously the biggest one for me, kind of talked about before, was just Chan Gailey and just how to do things and trust the players and set things up and go through the process of it. And then Frank Reich, obviously, in the Colts was awesome too. I mean, I've been very fortunate to be around some really, really, really good coaches.
As far as change, what about day-to-day with Nick, your associate head coach role? So he had said in the past that to clean it up, maybe when he was being too harsh on people, you were the guy who kind of pulled him back. Does that change at all?
No, I don't think that'll ever change. I mean, we work hand in hand. That's what we know. That's what we do. Yeah, I don't think that'll change.
Kevin Dallas Goddard was a big storyline
Yep.
offseason. Are you sleeping any better knowing he's coming back?
Yes.
How vital?
Yes, no, Dallas is awesome. You could feel his presence out there yesterday and just doing our 7-on-7 stuff. We're so glad to have him back. He brings a very unique, different, style of play to the offense, and he's another weapon to add.
Kevin, you mentioned Parks Frazier. How have you seen him grow as a coach, and what really stands out to you about him?
So really, from the time we were with him at the Colts until now, his offensive knowledge has grown, right? Being in Miami last year, he learned all this new stuff, and then being at Carolina kind of on his own, doing his own thing and coaching up Bryce there, he's really expanded his game. He had to jump into an awkward situation as a coordinator, play caller that one year at Indy. That was another thing. And so he's really developed as a coach, and then just the new styles he has and the ways to communicate, but he still kind of knows the same language and the way we were able to talk prior to, which is really beneficial. He can just jump right in there and go.
It's not that different for you. I imagine this is a job you've been preparing for a long time. So when you were writing in your notes about what you were going to do when you were an offensive coordinator, what were some of the things that you wanted to remind yourself that were important to you?
I think the biggest thing is just be me. I mean, I'm not going to change who I am. I'm going to be who I am, and then just rely on all the coaches that we have, because that was something that Chan always taught me too. All the coaches you have around you are there for a reason. So don't just all of a sudden think you're going to do it yourself, right? And lean on those guys and lean on what they're experts at, and really that'll give you the best chance to be successful.
What are you seeing from Saquon, now that he's back after such a heavy workload this past season and everything, just how he's looking so far?
Yeah, he's been great. I mean, he looks like the same guy. I mean, it's unbelievable how he's able to do that and continue to go day in and day out, and he looked in regular season mode yesterday running routes, so it was pretty cool.
Is the verbiage going to stay pretty much the same?
Yeah, I don't think we'll change too much, right? We've kind of had the Eagles offense is what we've kind of been running essentially the last 4 years, and we'll kind of keep it in that grouping of words, just because the continuity of everybody, it'll be a lot easier, and then we can make adjustments or add stuff within things because that kind of baseline language is already built.
As a follow-up to Bo's question, this job in the past decade has propelled OCs to head coaching jobs, but the ones who've replaced those guys haven't had as much success, naturally, because he replaces a successful coach. How do you navigate that? How do you deal with taking over a team and an offense that had this much success?
To be honest, you're just kind of doing your job. If you look at something like that big picture, I guess it could be overwhelming, but I just this is what I do. This is what I wanted to do. I've been wanting to do it, and I have an opportunity to do it. And like I said, I've got a great staff around me, great players, great organization, everything. So it'll be fun.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
12:50.